All right, Joe. So as I was clarifying today, we're going to go over Ultravation as a product offering, residentially, commercially, and most specifically, we're here to tie in on ASHRAE Guidelines, recommendations, what is documented. We have such a wide breadth of products. Again, I represent multiple product lines here in the Northeast, but today we're really just trying to focus on IAQ. And as far as agenda-wise, we make so much product, depending on market niches, it is easy to fall away from what ASHRAE guidelines are, what CDC has already published during this current pandemic. So we're really just trying to say, hey, great, we have all of this, but this is what we're pushing primarily to stay aligned with all the standards and what's already been proven after years and years and years of research and application. So that being said, one big thing we always like to ask everybody is whether you're talking to a residential or commercial sales rep or a contractor is always ask when, where, why. So because solutions-wise, especially us as a company, we handle the top 3 components of IAQ, which is filtration, UV disinfection, and then UV air purification. It's important to clarify those 2 UV components because one is addressing surface area concerns, one is addressing airborne concerns. And I guess, obviously from an IAQ perspective, there's other solutions out there like humidity control, ways to bring in fresh air, all those types of other solutions are great, but as far as Ultravation is concerned, we're handling filtration, surface area concerns, and airborne and HVAC application. So let's get all the buzzwords and science out of the way. A lot of people don't know what UVGI is. And long story short, stands for ultraviolet germicidal radiation. And that is actually called out specifically in the ASHRAE handbook, the ASHRAE guidelines for our industry, most recently in the 2019 handbook update. Chapter 62 is the specific chapter of that handbook that is dedicated to that application. And long story short, you cannot apply, as they call it, UVGI technology in an HVAC application unless you're using UVC class wavelength bulbs. A lot of people don't realize that there's, especially if you go on Amazon nowadays, there's UV, they don't even tell you what kind of UV is. It just says UV lamp. Well, there's a difference. There's UVA light spectrum, there's UVB section of light spectrum, there's UVC. So with the recent updates that came out from CDC as well as ASHRAE, they all agree. If you're talking about UV application, you better be using UVC wavelength bulbs. I have a separate slide clarifying the destructive capabilities of it. The long story short, if you're not doing UVC wavelength products, then you cannot be applying UVGI technology into an HVAC system. So almost all of our products are dealing with that. Now, that being said, there's other technologies as a company, because Ultravation is focused on indoor air quality, that we apply into our products as well. PCO is another popular one out there. You mentioned a couple other competing companies you've already been looking at. A lot of companies do offer products with photocatalytic oxidation, PCO. An important clarifying on that is same thing as UVGI, right? So UVC products being put on a coil means I'm putting UVGI on a coil. But if I'm putting PCO into a product, I also need a UVC class wavelength bulb on there. Can you create photocatalytic oxidation with a surface treated with titanium dioxide with a non-UVC bulb? Yes. Will it be at the same intensity? No. We do have products that actually have a UVA bulb to activate the PCO, and I'll have that on one of the slides just so you can see the difference. But in the end, most of our higher end solutions are all, if they're offering PCO, you have a UVC wavelength bulb on there. And just to explain that, we actually have an animated video I'm going to show you here. Let me switch screens over. And there is audio to this. And this was based on our longest standing in-duct solution called the UV Photomax. We've since released 2 upgrades since then, but this is still probably one of the top selling in-duct solutions that we've ever had. And it is involving a product with a ballast that has a metal surface area, and that metal surface area has the titanium dioxide infused onto the metal surface area. And as you solve that definition with a UVC wavelength bulb, you create the photocatalytic oxidation field in the ductwork to help with airborne contamination.
Here's how it works. The UV Photomax Advanced Oxidation Module is coated with an exclusive titanium dioxide formulation. When UV light is applied to the surface, the titanium dioxide coating becomes energized, causing it to release electrons. The electrons then combine with oxygen to create what are known as superoxides. The titanium dioxide then collects replacement electrons from moisture in the air to become charged particles known as hydroxyl radicals. Together with the superoxides, a powerful photocatalytic oxidation, or PCO field, is created. As odors, germs, mold, and other VOC organic molecules approach the PCO field, they are disassembled as the oxidizers pull electrons from them. The purification process is completed, with the remaining molecules recombining to form simple water vapor and trace amounts of carbon dioxide. Ultravation's advanced oxidation.
All right, so there's your animation. A lot of companies offer PCO. Long story short, you could put titanium dioxide on a metal surface. You can infuse it into a carbon brick alignment, which a lot of our products do. And as long as you have a UVC bulb or UV bulb activating the titanium dioxide coating, that creates a PCO field. So, and again, once that process is complete, you're just leaving behind harmless water vapor in this path. So it's literally breaking things down to the molecular level. So that being said, the other technology that's been around longer than UV is ionization. Per Chapter 62 of the guidelines, we're really just focusing on UVC technology, but I want to clarify this because some of the products I'm about to show you do add in ionization. And it's important because it's already also a proven tech. It's been around longer than the UVC technology and then made a comeback. And long story short, it's like a thunderstorm in your HVAC system. There's products now being offered out there that you can put ionization inside of ductless heads. We actually have a UVC bulb product universal kit for ductless heads. So we actually push that more for a ductless solution because of its proven technology. But ionization is also something different because there is no UV involved. So some people are very concerned about ozone byproducts and UV and everything else. So if somebody doesn't want to stay aligned with ASHRAE and they just want to find a way to improve airflow or improve airborne contamination or just improve their filtration process without putting any UVC wavelength products in their systems, we can do that. We have that too. So here's just a quick animation on ionization, because not every company I found actually offers this either. So this is actually, there's no audio on this. There's actually an animation of our ion generator. So as I hinted, thunderstorm in a box. I used to fight wildfires out west, living in the US years ago, one of my adventure careers a long time ago. And well, most people don't realize wildfires and mountains are started by lightning, not by mankind. So, but when lightning strikes across the sky, whether you're on East Coast or West Coast, you have that kind of thunderstorm fresh air. And one of the byproducts of that is it actually is literally generating negative and positive ions across the atmosphere. But we figured out that, wait a minute, if we could basically statically charge these with this ionization process, you can get microparticulates that you can't see with the naked eye to stick together because negative and positive attract. And the end result is, as you see here with the animation, is great. I can actually improve a filter's ability to trap particulates because I'm helping those particulates clump up and get a little bit bigger because I'm getting them to stick together. So that's one of the biggest side effect benefits of ionization technology. So we have a standalone product that generates that is used in residential and commercial applications. But also we've added that technology into some of our in-duct UV solutions to just kick things up a notch. Give everybody the UVC, give them the PCO, give them the ionization. And since you mentioned that you guys have looked at RGF Remy Halo, for example, they're doing the same thing. The Remy Halo is using PCO plus ionization as well. So I like to clarify that because not every company is explaining what ionization even is actually. So that being said.
So real quick question on that.
Yeah.
So, you know, Remy, RGF, they've done a very good job of kind of saturating the contract market and getting that word out about their product. Everybody.
Yeah, their marketing is great.
Yeah,
they crush it.
What has Ultra, what have they done in those regards other than
I will show you
yourself?
So I actually have a slide specifically showing the comparisons between the Halo and our comparable product, which actually is stronger. So we like to go up a level. Here's the beauty. I don't bash my competition. I know I give respect where respect is due. I know the reps from RGF. They're based out of Florida. We're based out of Vermont. They were very smart in the market. They crushed the marketing, did great business to consumer level addresses, and just their product is known. That's simply is it. We're a pro trade dedicated company. Could Ultravation have pushed out more maybe consumer facing marketing? Possibly. One advantage of this is that we do have a much deeper product offering to apply to much more applications, residentially and commercially, I've noticed, than them. But again, as far as just the residential market, but also the Halo is being applied in commercial applications too. We've seen that with our products as well. Okay. So I do have a slide on that. I will do a nice comparison since you asked. Not every customer wants that. but there's 3 top products out there right now that we've been pushing since last year that either align or go up against the halo and either match it or defeat it, and including another competitor. I think it's called the APCO is the induct name, and I believe it's actually made by Fresh Air UV. That's another big manufacturer out there. So that was one of my earlier trainings today. Somebody was actually, they looked at the halo, but they went with the Fresh Air, and a lot of people know about the REMI. So I always like, let's do a comparison. Let's help you guys at least understand how the technology aligns and how things are being done differently, and then you guys make your own decision. So again, just to re-clarify ASHRAE as we move through this, per Chapter 62, this image came right out of the handbook. They are specifically targeting technology to address surface and airstream solutions for HVAC, residentially and commercially. I do have links specifically available that, separate from this, I'm not going to get into all of them today, but I have the links here as I call out on this slide that do direct to their ASHRAE announcement, also to the Chapter 62 itself. They actually made it available as its own downloadable PDF because like the handbook is huge. And everything else you may need. So if you need those resources to help you and your contractors, I will send that stuff over. We've, in the past 4 months, have released multiple blog releases on our website and include all of those links in there. So every single time we release a new IAQ or UV related thing on our firm's website, I've always made sure they were linked in as resources. So everything's in one place. Just keep it simple. So that being said, that's ASHRAE. What is UVC? This is important to clarify. That's why I put this in there, because I record these. I want to make sure everybody understands that UVC, per CDC, per ASHRAE, the scientific method, is the most dangerous form of UV spectrum light out there. That's why we like to lead with that. You can get everything from X-rays to visible light is UV. But as far as dealing with surface area bacteria, viruses, airborne, to break it down at the DNA level, molecular level, you got to really focusing on UVC. UVA and UVB are also pretty destructive, but as far as the most potent, it's UVC, which is rated at 254 nanometers if you want to get all scientific about it. That being said, this purple sphere is an important awareness piece to help people understand proximity of technology. So the center is the tip of a UVC length bulb, a wavelength bulb. So if I'm looking straight at the end of the bulb and then I'm seeing light emanating outward, if I'm wearing UV protective goggles, because this light will burn your retinas, we remind people that when it comes to especially surface area applications, coil applications and equipment, inside of ductless heads, et cetera, you really want to be focusing at 12 inches or less, because obviously you could just, by measurement of microwatts alone, the closer you are to the bulb, the much more stronger and potent it is. This comes into play when we move into commercial applications, because if you're dealing with time and intensity in a induct supply solution, for example, as air is passing at a rapid speed down an air supply duct, you'll see later in the presentation here that, okay, that'll determine then, well, how many UV bulbs do I mount in a row or put a UV product in a row in the air supply to create that daisy chain disinfection rate. So it all comes into play when it comes to commercial planning, design, and execution. So, but residentially, it's just simply this. If you're putting a UVC bulb in an HVAC system on a coil, put it close to the coil, and that will inhibit the growth. So again, that point of this slide just remind people it is the most dangerous form. It is going to break things down. It is going to kill things. It's already been proven time and time again over the scientific method. It doesn't matter if you're talking about streptococcus as a bacteria or going to something as dangerous as the echovirus. And actually, COVID is actually below the echovirus. Echovirus is pretty dangerous stuff. So just like to reiterate why UVC is important. And just to close out the alignment of UVC back to UVGI, this is an important title. If you are talking per the training and education from ASHRAE, UVC is the lamp type and the section of the electromagnetic spectrum that we care about. But when you're installing those products in an HVAC system, you're applying UVGI technology. I don't care who the manufacturer is, us, everybody else. If I'm putting it on a coil, I'm applying UVGI technology on the coil. If I'm putting it in an airstream, I'm applying UVGI technology in the airstream. If I'm applying a product that has a UVC class lamp, but also has metal or carbon ballasts with titanium dioxide on them, fine, I'm still applying UVGI technology in the airstream, but I'm also applying PCO technology into the airstream as well. So that's an add-on technology, just like if I decide to add on ionization too, completely separate technology. So we just like to clarify all that because a lot of guys are just not understanding that. And that's why these trainings became so important over recent months now that indoor air quality is finally getting its just awareness, unfortunately due to a pandemic. So here's an important thing. not all bulbs are created equal. We have a patented design. Nobody has this. They might have a different rendition, maybe their own version of it. I don't know. I don't have time to study everybody. So we sell some entry-level products residentially that have a standard UVC wavelength bulb. It's unprotected, like most bulbs are. And what people don't realize is the average UVC wavelength bulb, you should be changing them on a PM cycle of annually. Our UVC wavelength, we make it very clear, it's a 9,000 hour bulb. Can it stay lit up for months to come? Absolutely. We sell our bulbs, whether it's 1 year or 2 year life T3 class, that are 2 year warranty bulbs. The warranty, which most manufacturers should be clarifying, is meant that the bulb will light up for 2 years. But are you getting the disinfection rate and the intensity? No. So a 1 year light bulb, which we sell entry level, is 9,000 hour bulb. If you decide not to put it on a 1 year PM cycle and you just leave that in there for months to come, you have to understand that at the end of that first year, on average, you probably have lost about 30% potency in that first year of the light coming out of the bulb. So that's why we tell them, like, listen, not all bulbs are created equal. If you want maximum disinfection rates, you should be changing the bulb annually, unless you get our T3. Our T3 is standard in our commercial products and is pretty much standard in our higher end resolutions, residential solutions as well. So what we did was we had Philips, is one of our big bulb manufacturers in the world, design, or basically build our patented design. We found a way to encapsulate it in a quartz sleeve, put an insulating gas layer in there, slide the bulb in, seal it. So now the bulb is protected from outside elements like cold air, temperature fluctuations, dirt, particulates, moisture, whatever. The biggest benefit we noticed out of it is that, one, now it's got its own self-contained intensity because it can reach its maximum burn intensity without being affected by cold, wet, etc. So now we figured out, we tested the bulbs, we figured out, wait a minute. So a standard UVC bulb, unprotected, you might fall into this red zone here of like 40 to 65 to 70% intensity, which is great and all. You're still getting a 70% top end disinfection rate. But what if I can actually give it 100% potential by not being affected by cold air in the summertime and moisture and everything else? So that's the advantage of the T3, is that I'm getting 40% more energy out of this bulb versus a standard, thanks to that simple, upgraded design. So we'd like to clarify that because everybody does not realize that not all bulbs are created equal. So again, a lot of our better solutions are all T3 class. It's what we recommend, especially from a bulb SKU management standpoint. And we'll get into that a little bit more. This is an important graph for you, anybody studying UV and understanding this. We took this out of our commercial education because I think it's important to apply it before I get into the residential stuff as well. Blue and green, if you notice at the bottom here, it says UV matrix SI and then UV matrix AS. Those are two of our commercial class product solutions. SI just means surface, and then AS means airstream. So this is just a quick wake-up call for a lot of people that if I'm just doing a traditional mount the coil lamp in, that's surface. You are getting some airborne disinfection as the air is passing through the coil, passing past the field, coming off the bulb. You might get a little bit of disinfection or breakdown of whatever's in that air, but it's really not targeted at airstream disinfection. So, but here's my thing. If I'm only concerned about keeping an HVAC system clean and doing standard disinfection, and I care about things like streptococcus and E. coli and all that, then fine, great. Stick with your coil applications. These lower solutions here, I'm getting anywhere from 99 to like 94 to, high 90s is great. This is wonderful. But as you move halfway up the chart here and you get into airborne concerns like the subtilis virus, the airborne spores, ecovirus, different strains of influenza, well, that's airborne. Well, that time and intensity concern changes things. I might have gotten a little bit of breakdown right here in the blue. So here, ecovirus. My coil application might have helped break down about 23, 24% of the airborne component, but it didn't have enough time to work on it. So as soon as I get into the ductwork, if I want to get a 70 to 90% disinfection rate, I need to put an airstream solution in there. I got to put something in the plenum, in the supply duct to give me an increased benefit out of that. So we always ask people, back to that slide earlier I showed of, what are you trying to solve for, right? What is your when, what, where, high? Like, okay, well, if somebody's concerned with airborne viruses, we should be talking about adding in an induct solution, not just targeting the Petri dish effect we may get in a coil. Granted, coil lamps are great. When I first did my system 2 years ago, my new system here, I threw 2 UV lamps in right away, just at the base of the plenum, right over my end coil. And I noticed cleaner air too. but I didn't really have an in-duct supply option in there. And then obviously right before this thing started ripping off, I said, you know what, let me go ahead and put one of my in-duct supply options in before they shut down, rep available purchases. Because as reps, we can't order anything right now. Right now, the contractors and you guys come first. So I got in before the big rush. So, all right, that being said, again, we handle it all. We go from large particulate, full-blown high-end MERV 11, MERV 13 filtration solutions. I will note we don't have the pressure drop problems that a lot of companies have had over the years because of our patented design. One of the risks is because we give you 32 feet of surface area inside that 5-inch pleated filter. We have the pressure drop graphs to back this up. So a lot of contractors have never moved beyond MERV 8. It's very common. They do with MERV 8, that's it. But MERV 11, MERV 13, you could trap things as small as auto emissions. So it's very impressive when you jump from 8 to the 11, 13 class, and that's all we sell is 11, 13 filters for large particulates. I hinted at ionization. We have an Orion generator. That thing's probably 3 to 4 times more powerful than most of our competition on ionization. For a standalone unit, that would go, again, in your return right before the filter. We have people putting these things on ice machines and stuff too if they don't want to use UV. The M series down here is for ductless. That's our portable purifier. I'm going to get into some of these dedicated solutions in a second. And then we have entry level like throwaway lamp designs moving up into lifetime warranty for Coil. And then these are our 2 higher end solutions that are going to compare against like the Remy Halo and other high end solutions for in-duct supply, airborne purification. So first off, if you have customers that work with good, better, best, I like to start there, or better, good, whatever. Reverse, up, down, don't care. We came out with about 4 or 5 years ago a throwaway design lamp. We tried finally helping people get more entry point access into IAQ at a better price point. So we figured out a way to take a UV lamp, design it cheaper, more of a throwaway, always in warranty design. So you can pretty much get one of these basic UVC lamps, the Advantage model, at the cost of what a higher end T3 class bulb normally goes for. So if you're just buying a 1-year life annual PM, I want to get like the cheapest thing I can get, you start there at the Advantage level. Can you get it in a 2-year life bulb? Sure. We have a T3 model too. You can get it in 12-inch or 17-inch lamps, which covers all the residential applications. Most contractors are working with 17-inch. You want to get as much coverage over that coil as possible for maximum disinfection. And then we even make it scalable. If they want to add on some PCO, you can get it as an accessory, or you can buy these as a SKU, as a bundle, and we'll give you the PCO, the titanium dioxide treated carbon, as an accessory option as well. So this is our entry level, more of a throwaway design product. We have a beefier version of this too. We actually took it and we call it the Power PCO. We made the T3 a standard requirement. You can't get the entry level 1-year light bulb on this. And then we added an even more surface area. So you have the carbon plus 2 metal side pieces that have additional titanium dioxide, so you're getting even more PCO. So this is like that entry level product, but a little more beefed up to become like a mid-level tier product. The issue is all of these Advantage products have to be wired individually. So if you're installing multiple bulbs in, you're going to do each one of these. These don't get to plug into each other or anything else. Our higher end lifetime warranty ones do that. The advantage of this product versus the prior slide is if you take the entry level and put a carbon on, then you have a true zero ozone product. Whereas the Advantage Power PCO already has carbon on it, but that's automatically a zero ozone product. That's an important clarification I'll get into in a second on active PCO versus passive PCO. So I hinted earlier that I have 2 coils on my 2 coil lamps in. Well, I already bought this before we really started ripping the lid off on Advantage throwaway design. So I have our lifetime warranty Signature series. This is a bulb application. The advantage of this product is, 1, the whole system is lifetime warranty. It comes standard with the T3 bulb. The power pack is auto power sensing. It has bulb monitoring built in. So if for some reason the bulb fails or end of life, it'll notify. But the other beauty of it is I can actually wide jack a second coil lamp. So for scalability, that's what I wanted. I said, great, I just want to be able to have my contractor come in, wire one thing, and then just plug the second bulb right into the power ballast. So wide jacket, done. So that got me my 2 bulbs. I made sure it come with the directional metal shielding. You can see in the photo here. So you want to direct all that light right down onto the coil, not up into plenums or ductwork or anything else. Like, this is a coil targeted solution. As we hinted at earlier, if the air is passing through the equipment, passing through the UV field, you might get a little bit of disinfection benefit for airstream, but again, you're targeting a coil solution here. So again, you can go 12-inch or 17-inch. and really get a good coil coverage. Unless you have basic A coil, then maybe you just want to stop with the one center bulb and not add another one on. But I have an N coil. I had to go in. My coil package was so small. I went in from the top with 2 UV lamps. So again, scalability, lifetime warranty, monitoring, definitely a much better product for that better solution for a coil. Now, earlier I talked about UVA versus UVC. This is a long-standing product we didn't really promote before, but now a lot of people are talking about electronic air purifiers and, you know, does your box click or make a static sound? I don't know if you ever come across this stuff, but we've always had something. It doesn't make the clickies or the sounds, but the reason why we do it differently is because, again, we're focusing on UV light. So UVC wavelength light can be dangerous to a filter. Over time, it will break down material. It's so you don't, in this box, we don't put UVC lamps in it because of the close contained area. But we wanted to create a way to add PCO in to a filter box if somebody has not done, you know, equipment solutions, or if they're just trying to add even more purification in. So this solution has our standard 5-inch pleated Marv 11 filter, and then a gap where we have a power module coming down at the top here, and there's 2 UVA bulbs in there to activate the titanium dioxide treated screen. So that screen is then being activated by the UVA bulbs, but it's not in line with ASHRAE. That is not giving you full UVC technology for the UVGI. So we made it scalable. We said, great, if you order it with the accessories of adding on 2 UVC bulbs, which you can plug into the power ballast and you put those on the coil, that's what helps you take this solution and make it align with ASHRAE guidelines, because great, I'm putting UVC wavelength bulbs into an HVAC system. So I'm putting UVGI now on the coil. So that's how you can take a solution like this, scale it up, and then still align with the ASHRAE guidelines. So again, this is really targeted at airstream purification, because obviously you're dealing with the returning air before even getting into the system. And then when you add on the optional bulbs, great, I'm now dealing with the coil as well. So this is just one solution for airstream that's really focused on return before the equipment. Now, talk about Remy halos, all these induct solutions. I talked about active and passive PCO. So passive PCO means you have the ability to absorb the ozone byproduct. So here's 2 things, lessons on ozone. Ozone is created off of UV bulbs and off of the PCO process. But ozone off of UV bulbs is temporary. Most standard UVC wavelength bulbs, you have a 100-hour burn-in period. Most people don't talk about this. Doesn't matter who makes it. The initial 100 hours, once you light up that bulb, it's breaking itself in, it's heating up, so it's going to give off a little off-gassing of some ozone. But after the first 100 hours, that dissipates and it's done. The bulb is broken in, it's doing its thing. So if people have that rare concern of ozone, keep that in mind. The advantage of our T3 bulb is because it's encapsulated in that quartz sleeve, that off-gassing can never happen. So there's no ozone coming off the T3 bulb. So we have that advantage. The other thing here is this. This unit is full carbons. The entire ballast, there's 3 ballasts of carbon that have titanium dioxide on that. So when the UV light is lit up and it's activating this inside the duct supply, it's actually going to absorb any ozone byproduct coming off of the photocatalytic oxidation process on the carbon. So this is basically a self-healing carbon absorbing any kind of ozone anyway. So this can be sold as a true zero ozone, passive PCO product. This is actually what's in my duct supply. I decided to just say, great, I don't want to deal with anybody being in my house and being sensitive to possible, that rare percentile of a slight sensitivity to the ozone. And again, the percentage of chance I've read about the populace, most populations are not that sensitive. But I will say my contractor was. He noticed it right away. He's like, oh, it smells like a doctor's office. So he actually could recognize it right away. So just keep that in mind. So this is what I put in for my lifetime warranted solution in my duct supply. One of the big advantages of this one and the next product I'm going to show you is that we design our power heads to be scalable. Again, keeping it simple for the contractor. When you take that power head off, which is on the outside of the ductwork, because that way everything is accessible for maintenance, what's left behind is the mount plate and the bulb going in the ductwork, and then that carbon ballast inside the ductwork. Well, on the back of the power head, when you open it up, we give you an extra power jack. So per the second photo here, you can then plug in a coil lamp solution. So I showed you earlier, I already had 2 lamps installed. If I had not had done that, then I might have installed the catalyst first and then just gotten a full 17-inch bulb and came in across the top of the whole end coil. And I could have run, again, wiring one thing, I could have just wired the catalyst, and the catalyst would have powered the accessory bulb. So scalability is key, because again, I know everybody's concerned about airborne disinfection and airborne viruses right now, but you cannot ignore the coil. You can't ignore that there's stuff that's going to get on that coil, hit the moisture. You could get some kind of, bacterial growth, whatever. It could inhibit system performance, et cetera. So the beauty of this solution is that the main catalyst and the accessory lamps are both T3 bulbs. So for 2 years, I don't have to worry about changing those bulbs. So on a PM cycle every 2 years, I come back, I change the catalyst bulb, I change the add-on coil bulb, and that's my PM cycle for this solution. Again, you could just install the catalyst by itself if you wanted to. Maybe they already have a coil lamp installed from who knows what, Honeywell, Fresh Air UV, RGF, whatever. So if they already got some solutions, but you're trying to upgrade, then great, just sell them the catalyst. But that accessory bulb is our standard accessory bulb that works with that SSE's UV coil application I already went over. It works with this head, and it works with our Solaris. Here is your most direct competing product for Remy Halo or Fresh Air UV's, their APCO product is called. So also lifetime warranted by us. Again, scalable by adding on a 12-inch or 17-inch coil lamp bulb, just like we just showed you, same SKUs. The difference here is that this is not a true passive PCO product, right? So what we did here was we took our Photomax you saw in the video earlier, that metal ballast, and we doubled it up. So it's actually 200 square inches of metal surface area. So it's 2 layers thick, spaced apart. So it's basically 2 metal ballasts wrapping around. It has all the titanium dioxide on it. So we're able to basically double up on photocatalytic oxidation. We've added the ionization in here as well. So just like the Remy Halo, but we have 4 times the plasma generation going on in here. And so basically this has got a whole lot of tech. And to make your life a lot easier, last year we came up with a comparison. So I think this is probably up your alley, Joe. You want to see how things line up? And let me bring that up here so I can get you a more zoomed in shot of it. Now, you guys are already selling the Halo right now?
Yes.
Okay. Again, great product. They crush the marketing. I mean, just, I'm always like, hey, how do we follow these guys? But they're getting slammed. We're getting slammed. Every single UV company out there is getting slammed right now. So it's the year of indoor air quality. Now, I do like to clarify, though, that not all technology is created equal. So these we found were the top 3 moving products since last year because of people going more PCO, more ionization, whatever. To be fair, if this was a great comparison, I would have put our catalyst in here because I feel like the catalyst best compares against the APCO because those are both considered passive PCO because they have carbon. And then the Solaris versus the Remy Halo are more accurate because they don't have carbon and they're both active PCO products. Does that make sense?
How does this match up to the new Remy LED variant?
Great question. LED, we don't talk about. We have LED. We launched it when they did as well. We presented it at AHR in Florida in January. However, UV LED versus UVC lamp potency is not matched. UV LED in the current technology today does not reach 254 nanometers. So as soon as this went down and then CDC made the release about UVC, we stopped talking about our UV LED product. Is there a benefit? Sure, I'm sure the technology is effective, but to reduce the confusion, we just stopped talking about our LED solutions until this blows over because until updated testing and everything else is done, we had to go off of what ASHRAE is recommending, what they're aligned with, and what the CDC was publishing, and everybody's saying UVC, UVC, UVC. So we just stopped talking about it. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if RGF was doing that too, because right now, all I hear about is a ton of Halo. And I haven't been hearing a lot about the LED, but maybe you guys are hearing differently.
Yeah, we're getting requests for the LED variant.
Yeah. And again, we have an LED product. We do. We have an in-duct solution. It's basically the power head looks, it's flattened. Actually, the power head looks similar to the APCO power head because we don't have to power it at the same magnitude that, UVC length because you're using UV LED products. Our product's called the Synergy, but we're not training on it. We're not pushing right now because we had to take a position here. And since we do so much commercial solution choose, we're like, listen, what does ASHRAE say? What is CDC matching? Everybody's talking about UVC wavelength light, which cannot be achieved with the current LED technology today. The nanometers don't match up. It doesn't reach that 254 nanometer, which is per the training we went over earlier. That is the kill potential. So we said, great, let's realign and let's just talk about products that are going to be aligned with those standards until something changes down the road. But yes, we make LED as well. So, and again, I'm not ripping on RGF too. I'm glad they invented it. We invented it too, but we're just not talking about it. We're staying aligned with what is recognized in case something ever gets weird. So that being said, since you guys are talking about the REMI, I'll try and just focus on these two. So both active PCO. We use a special dual band bulb in ours, which gives us a very special patented way of doing adjustability. They are using a single band, just like APCO's doing. The bulb length does not matter in the duct supply because you get, well, I mean, it doesn't. So yes, if I got a 10-inch bulb with a ballast like we'd have, fitting into the ductwork, great. I have a bigger field being generated around the product versus a 6-inch. But that's not a big of a deal. Like the bulb length really applies more when you're trying to cover a surface area when we talk about coil applications. So I kind of skip over that, but I do like to clarify that their round ballast design has just over 26 square inches of surface area with titanium dioxide for that PCO. Well, because we did a double layered thick metal surround with titanium dioxide, and those are spaced out, so we're not really constricting airflow, we have 200 square inches of surface area creating PCO. So there's a lot more going on there than you realize. The reactor dimensions are relatively around the same. Construction-wise, everything that all of our products are made in Vermont. Our entire system is stainless steel and aluminum. APCO, they got aluminum on that product, and then REMI's doing like a mix of plastic and aluminum. So I always like to promote quality of design, quality of product. We differ them a little bit on our titanium dioxide coatings. They're using a zinc ion disinfection blend. We found that, and all the science backs up, that silver is one of the best pathogen fighter elements. So we decided to do a silver ion blend with our titanium dioxide for our PCO, and that's patented as well. So, and then they're using a basic titanium dioxide formulation on the fresh air product there. Here's the biggest advantage of our dual band bulb, and the way we did our ballast up here is we can actually give you a 4-inch adjustment range. And whereas the REMI design can only give you a 2-inch adjustment range. The other concern here we have is that their 2-inch adjustment range, if you ever took it out of the box, there's a restriction of UV disinfection. Like there's slots that kind of like close off some of those slots in the ballast here. We don't block any of these holes in our screens and everything. We found, we patented this that video you watched earlier, that was our Photomax that we invented years ago before this. We figured out we had a special dual band bulb designed that gives you the 2-year life, gets you much more emission. But then thanks to the bulb design, we figured out that with that bulb design, where the filament and the element was releasing much more reaction for the PCO. So we figured out a way to create that same quartz sleeve type of thing, but only move it back and forth and make it adjustable. So when you take our power head off on the old Photomax or this new Solaris, there's an adjustment rod. And on the adjustment scale inside the power head, it tells you, do you want to adjust by CFMs or square footage? Up to you if you're the contractor. But that product can be adjusted to treat from 500 square feet up to 5,000 square feet. So the beauty of that is if somebody is sensitive to possibly some ozone-y smell or they think it's too clean-y smelling, well, we can dial it back or we can dial it up. So from a scalability standpoint, our scalability and adjustability is twice that of theirs. So we're generating twice as much PCO, but we can also do much more adjustability and creativity there thanks to our patented design. So this is just the way it all washed out in the end. So kudos to them for making it adjustable. We could just do a little bit more. So, and the other big benefit here, unless they changed their design since last year, I haven't seen their product, but we did this comparison last year that you could not do a plug and play add-on lamp for the coil. So that was another big thing we really want to make sure was in our designs. The Catalyst or this Solaris, you take that power head off, we have an extra plug jack in the power head. So you don't have to wire a coil lamp separately. You just run the wire right up in, plug it right into the power head. So from a scalability standpoint, we found that the APCO product and the Halo, we're not doing that. They could have changed something this year. I haven't seen it, but last time I checked, if you were doing a coil application, which ASHRAE recommends, you cannot plug and play. You'd have to wire something separate, and then tap power for that. Again, the other thing about APCO, they don't do ionization, whereas, kudos to RGF and Remiho, they did, good job. But we doubled it up. So they're doing 2 electrodes to generate the ionization. We went with 4. Let's just kick it up, see if we can upgrade a little bit. So again, back to this expandability. And then here's a big selling point. The warranties are not all the same. So last time I checked, they're not giving you a lifetime warranty on that product. They give you, per their fine print, they give you a 2-year warranty on the PCO process. They give you a 5-year warranty on the ballast. And then there's no warranty. I don't know what that means. There's no warranty on parts that are outsourced. I don't know what that means. It's just in their paperwork. So whatever that means, I have no idea. So, but we just say, listen, the whole product is lifetime warranty. Okay. Just like all of our bulbs, you give you a 2-year warranty on the bulb, and that this is using this dual band bulb has a 2-year life to it. But if anything ever goes wrong with our Solaris or the catalyst, the only thing you actually have to change is the power head. We made sure everything was in that power head. So the contractor went through all the trouble of cutting the hole, mounting the gasket and mount plate in there with the ballast and everything else. He doesn't have to take any of that out. He just takes 2 screws, pulls the power head off. We already drop ship a new power head. You plug it in, you're done. Lifetime warranty. So that's another huge win for us. So last time I checked, they were still not lifetime warranting that product. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I just been too busy to look. But as of last year's paperwork and everything I saw on the shelf, they were not lifetime warranting that. So I will tell you though, there's some downfalls to us with our fancy tech, right? So the Solaris has 4 times the plasma generation and ionization. Well, that means if there's ever a shortage on those little electrodes that you do the ionization with, which happened about a month and a half ago, like when all of a sudden everything kicked in, RGF is ordering electrodes for ionization, we're ordering electrodes, and whoever else is doing ionization tech, it actually slowed up production of our Solaris. We went from a 2-week lead time right to 6 weeks. And then luckily we got the rest of our electrodes in and everything was fine again. But that affected production because I don't think the parts manufacturers were ready for this either. So I always like to say that because it doesn't matter if you're RGF, us, Fresh Air, we've never seen in demand that we're seeing right now. It's absolutely wild. I think right now, just to be safe, we're now advising people to go 8 to 10 weeks for lead times just to be safe. We just changed that. We were at 4 to 6 weeks at a maximum 2 weeks ago. But again, now the summer's kicking into gear. Now the more awareness is getting out there, there's more people caring about IAQ. We're seeing just demand shooting through the roof. And because we also build and design custom commercial solutions, we're seeing demand there as well. So not excuses, just help people understand like what's going on in the industry, and we're just blown away by the demand right now. So let me switch back here and clarify a few additional fun things that a lot of companies are making and are not making. So we talked about inducted solutions. Great. Coil, ductwork. Not everybody has ductwork. I know because I manage upstate New York. Some people may have finally put in ductless solutions or mini split ductless, but maybe they don't have that either. So if you have people who need to do targeted room by room solutions, we have that. So this is our very popular portable air purifier. You can see by the second photo by the set of keys here, it's only 9 inches by 9 inches and 3 inches high, but it's a self-sustaining product that can be plugged into the wall. So it pulls air up through the bottom of the chassis. That's why there's rubber feet on to create the gap. It goes right past a washable air filter, then past the UVC lamp, and then through, there's a whole strip of the PCO titanium dioxide treated carbon right across the front of the unit there. So it's going to push final phase of the process is that PCO activation there, and air is leaving. So you're purifying the air. This is a zero ozone product. The carbon's there to absorb all that. So this is great for room by room applications up to 500 square feet, residentially or commercially. And again, you're getting filtration, you're getting UV, you're getting carbon. And then you just have to service this thing once a year. You come back, pull it open, wash the filter, change the bulb, done. So I got contractors who they'll put this in a property just to prove to the business owner or homeowner that the technology works. If they got a stagnant room, they say, listen, let me plug this in, and you call me in a day or two, and you tell me you don't notice a difference. So a lot of these guys are using this now to kind of like, well, I guess help sell and help prove that this technology works. And if they do have ductwork, well, cool, they'll come back, pick this up, and then say, great, let's now design a system for what you need. So it's like an unsung hero. I feel like they could do a better job pushing this. So now, that being said, ductless, since you guys are doing so much right now, and thank you for bringing in Speed Clean. Once they've cleaned the heads, do something to prevent growth. Oh my, I've seen heads inside of breweries, bars, pizzerias. I mean, it's not just those environments, but those environments are worse because they have airborne yeast and things of that nature in the air. If you're not cleaning a head and disinfecting it, it's going to get nasty. So we created a universal UV kit, and obviously it's up to you and there's directional shielded lights. So light only exits one side of the bulb application. So we made the mount points spinnable and with two-sided tape. So depending on the manufacturer of the head, you would open that up and then you would mount that either up behind the coil or wherever space you have. And then you get to spin the bulbs and direct where you want the light to go. Maybe it's up at the coil because that's where most particulates and moisture is happening. Some people shine it down onto the blower wheel, up to you. This is not a T3 class because these are so small. We just couldn't get that kind of technology into something that small. But we made it as a universal kit. Auto power sensing, we don't care how that unit was wired. It'll just pull the power that it needs. And then again, you're going to change those lamps once a year. So this is a great selling product for us. We move a ton of these. I know in the upstate New York market, there's a few distributors already moving them. But this is definitely something that with ductless, if you're going to clean them, at least try and do something to prevent the growth in there too. I've seen a lot of black spores and all kinds of nasty stuff coming out of those things. So again, residential or commercially, this is a product for both those markets. So we already talked about ionization. There's our Orion generator. We give you the ability to mount inside or outside the equipment. The electrodes, the transmitters will flip down or flip up. So we give you the option going magnetic mount or hard mount. And again, we've even seen guys apply these ice machines and PTAC units. I have guys using the M series and some of our other universal UV bulb kits in PTAC units, but we actually have a special ice machine UV kit as well. So again, for your commercial markets, we have that as well. We hinted at high-end filtration. We even have our own sheet metal factory up there. We powder coat everything. We'll paint these to match the equipment. So if you want to sell this so it matches your brand of equipment, we'll do that. If you got high-end customers that like to do private labeling on everything, we'll screen print their logos on the doors. Whatever they want, we can match it, customize it, or make it naked and just sell them galvanized. We don't care. That support box is an unsung hero. Actually, that thing has been blowing up for us because most filter box companies don't make a support box. Well, we have like 3 or 4 different renditions of that. You got a furnace you can put on there, space savings, no pressure drop issues, MERV 11 or MERV 13. That's a great solution if you're already selling other filter box companies that don't make a support box like that. That's high end. You can get them in insulated, non-insulated, like I said, stainless or not. So now I know we're running tight on time. Are you good for a few minutes just to breeze through the commercial? Because commercial is actually shorter than residential.
Yep, real quick. I do have a 4 o'clock though.
Oh yeah, no, we'll be done way before that. Okay. This is just the highest level, most popular stuff out for the commercial. Again, we always ask guys, especially on the commercial, this is crucial. What are you solving for? We have a special spreadsheet that I will send you to if you want it. And it specifically asks all the questions needed for our commercial quoting team at the factory, because if people are saying specifically, I want to solve for COVID, you can't just plug and play something out of our price sheet and stick it in there. You really need to have the calculations matched up to that. Our engineers do that. We're going off of current data from a company out of Long Island State in New York that does special sterilization equipment for the medical industry. They had the latest studies on COVID. So all the UV companies are now aligning with their studies. I have forms in that too. The company's called Purple Sun. So we have special PDFs that they provided us that basically shows all their scientific research. But long story short, doesn't matter if it's COVID or anything else, this is already been proved by the scientific method over the years. As I said earlier, if you're using UVC wavelength, you're using UVGI, you can kill surface area bacteria and airborne viruses. So, but again, commercially, it's even more, not to say challenging, but more crucial that we understand how much is being treated, what is the building application, how big is the ductwork, how big are the coils, etc. So if you're commercial guys, these racks are very, very popular, especially if you have big coils, like stacked coils. This is pretty much the #1 solution for that, because then we can dictate how many bulbs are in a rack, depending on the level of disinfection rate they want. And I mean, I've done applications on public libraries in Philadelphia where there's like a 3 coils stacked high and 3 coils long. I mean, so we end up having 6 racks in there. Again, they're just really, really long UV bulbs. This is actually a telescoping product, so it's shipped slid in on itself, and then you just pull it apart and then mount it up. All the wiring, all the power is kept out of the airstream on those side rectangles, so that way everything is, again, you're getting as much airflow through there as possible, passing through the UV field coming off the bulbs. But again, this is really designed targeted at coil, but you're going to get some airstream benefit as well. And then if they want higher disinfection rates, you might see more than just these 4 bulbs. You might see 6 bulbs on here, etc. And then they can be sold with or without this control panel you're seeing here. Some people want to have remote monitoring so they can see by those little lights on the box that all the lights are lit up. Other people don't pay for that. And we even sell like sight glasses where you can cut into the access door and put a sight glass in that's does not let the UV light come up. You can look through the door and see everything lit up. We even have remote monitoring modules that actually monitor light intensity. So commercial, it's all in our spreadsheet. It's like, okay, just check what you want and we'll put it on the quote. Because some applications are actually asking like, hey, can you put a transmitter in there that'll tell me the current intensity of that UV bulb right now? And some job sites might want that. So that's important to know. As you know, commercially, not everything is a big rack of coils. So if you can't fit something like the SI in there, we make a lot of other custom commercial solutions. This is our UV Matrix 4X. It is a NEMA 4X rated enclosure to be mounted on the outside equipment on a small rooftop package unit. This is great for plug and play when guys don't have the ability to put larger racks in. Again, you're gonna get some airstream and coil benefit out of that. We make this in a 1 or 2 bulb design, and that you can get anywhere from 12 to 22 to 33 length bulbs on this. So again, basically between 1 or 2 bulbs, you're only looking at 6 SKUs for this design alone. So it's not very complicated, it's very simple. So this is very popular as well. And then airstream. Since everybody's concerned about airborne viruses, this is probably the most popular solution being put into ductwork today commercially. So that's our AS for airstream. Again, all the commercial stuff is called UV Matrix. And then this is going to come down to, again, the application. If you got a super large, wide ductwork, and even with our longest bulbs that we can put on an AS, if the bulbs are not crossing 80% of the duct width, we may have to put one of these on one side and one of these on the other side and have the bulbs meet in the middle to give you as much intensity across the ductwork as the air is passing through it. And then depending on the velocity of the amount of air being pumped through there, we've seen applications where we might have to put, maybe you don't have to go double across, but you might see 2 of these racks in a row to give you more of that time and intensity depending on the disinfection rate that the customer wants. If people just want a standard disinfection rate like 60 to 70% because they had nothing before, you might only have one of these. But if they want a maximum 90% disinfection rate and they're trying to kill everything possible, you might see more of these quoted on a job. So I just like to clarify that because it might always be just one. This is something that we never trained on until this year. This is newer for us, but it was apparently something we were making and designing in other countries for European markets. So this is called an upper room. There's no fans, there's no motors. Obviously, this is for an application where maybe you don't have ductwork, or maybe you do have a solution in place, but it's a wide open place and the job site, or for example, maybe it's a museum, maybe it's a hospital, maybe it's a lobby. They're looking for solutions to increase as much airborne disinfection as possible. So this is based on convective air. So every room naturally has cold air falling and hot air rising. They figured out there's natural convective air. Upper room applications are called out in Chapter 62 of the ASHRAE Guidelines. You can see photos from, there's a black and white photo in there from a CDC site in, I think it was Brazil. There's another black and white photo in there from an old New York City hospital. I think it was decommissioned already, but it was called St. Vincent's Hospital. And they show you these upper room boxes, applications mounted above doorways in large, massive, wide hallways, cafeterias, things of that nature. So these aren't like that portable air purifier I showed you where it has its own little fan. It can do up to 500 square feet. This is commercially targeted. We are actually already redesigning it as we speak. So this will all be obsolete because now the new redesign will show the bulbs going horizontally instead of vertically, because in Europe, they have a 8.5-foot ceiling height was common. Well, here, if you want to fit an upper room, you got to be a minimum of 7 feet of height per ASHRAE guidelines. But then a lot of ceilings don't go above 8. So we said, okay, if we could shrink the height of the box, put the bulbs horizontally, we can now meet that 7 to 8 foot range. So I'll be changing this slide in the coming days when they get me the updated spec sheets. But long story short, convective air, you need to have a room at least 15 by 15 or greater to use this. If it's less than that, the UV light is strong enough that when it shoots across the top of the room, because the wall is too close, less than 15 feet, you can actually discolor the paint. So that's why, okay, UVC is very destructive, right? So make sure the rooms are big enough. And then obviously people are using this to target large wide open spaces. You might be mounting these 10 feet apart from each other going down a wall to handle a large wide open space. So again, specification wise, 225 square feet. They can get them naked in stainless steel. You can get them powder coated. We've had people, restaurants ask if they could put these in on big, high ceiling, wide open restaurants. Can they paint them? We did confirm from the factory, yes, as long as you're only painting the exterior, you can paint them to match whatever wall paint you want. We don't care. This is just another rendition of upper air radiance, how that applies. So that's why it's so important to understand, like, okay, how big is the room? How big is the space? Because obviously as you move further away from that box, the irradiation intensity is lessening. You know, there's a proximity factor. The front of that box does have a panel of louvers on it. Those louvers ensure the light shoots straight across the top of the room. That's why the minimum height of 7 feet is important, because you don't want people looking straight into the box. Now, granted, if you have regular customers that are basketball players or NBA athletes of 7 feet, human beings, well, okay, we might need to mount that a little bit higher if you have that type of room space. So I like to clarify that. So that pretty much sums up a lot of our commercial solutions. We do have a few other pieces of our commercial line that I don't train a ton on. If people need to get even more creative, those easy lights I showed you earlier for residential, we have big versions of them where if guys want to apply just a big 20, 30-inch bulbs with shielding, and they have to custom do their own application, great. They can just buy those bulbs with shields, and then they can decide how to apply them into the environment. Because sometimes you got these old systems where there's obstructions or motors are mounted in a weird place and you just can't get a rack in there, or maybe you can't get the NEMA 4X in there. So some guys just want to get access to large T3 commercial rated, 20, 30-inch bulbs with directional shielding, and then they can custom fit the application. So basically, if you got a job site, we could probably build it. So has this helped today, Joe?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, if you could send me this deck so I could go over again, look through it. And
Sure.
Who else in our market is currently offering your product line?
Yeah, 1 second. Let me at least shut down recording here. That way this is a VP Supply dedicated training for you.